So today we begin scene 12. It is a brief scene where we see Hammond courting Jane. You remember Jane is Ralph's wife. So Hammond is a city gentleman, and even though Jane is a married woman, her husband has gone to France to join the war, and Hammond persuades Jane to marry him, and he also believes or tells Jane that her husband has probably died in war, so she should not have any inhibition. So let us look at this dialogue, and it is a courtship which does not suggest anything sinful or evil, and Hammond is actually behaving like a gentleman, even though we may doubt the report that he has about the soldiers in France. That is dubitable. So whether it is willful on his part to have a false report or it is ignorance on his part, we do not know. So Hammond says, "Yonder is the shop, and there my fair love sits. She is fair and lovely, but she is not mine." So this is a soliloquy. He looks at the shop where Jane sells her wares. Jane does tailoring and sewing job, and she sells clothes or dresses. So she is fair and lovely, but she is not mine, which means that Hammond knows that she is married to somebody else. "Oh, would she were? It is, I wish that she were mine. Thrice have I courted her, thrice has my hand been moistened with her hand, whilst my poor famished eyes do feed on that which made them famish." So I held her hand, and I look at her, and the more I look at her, the more my hunger for seeing her increases. I am unfortunate, I still love one yet. I still love one, yet nobody loves me. So this is an unfortunate situation, that Hammond loves Jane, but he is not yet loved by her, or there is no reciprocity in his love. "I muse in other men what women see that I so want." So why is he not loved by women? So he reflects on this fact and muse, that is, I try to imagine what is there in other men who get loved and that is lacking in me. Fine Mistress Rose was coy, and this too curious. So he earlier tried to woo Rose, but he found Rose to be too coy, and you remember that he told Rose that if you are too shy, then I am not going to persevere, and I am going back to my old love, by which he meant Jane, and I will continue my courtship with Jane. So the question that Hammond asks, why women do not love me, probably the answer is that it is his lack of perseverance which is the result, or because of which he is not loved in return by women. So Rose was coy, and this too curious. By this Hammond means that Jane is curious to know whether her husband is still alive or not. So without knowing a lot of answers, she won't agree. "Oh no, she is chaste, and for she thinks me wanton, she denies to cheer my cold heart with her sunny eyes." Then the second alternative, second possible reason why Jane does not agree is that she is chaste and she thinks that Hammond is wanton. which is quite probable because gentlemen in those days would often look for pleasure going from woman to woman, to different women, and therefore Haman could as well be wanted. So that is why she refuses to look at him with her sunny eyes. How prettily she works, O pretty hand, O happy work, it doth me good to stand unseen to see her. So she cannot see Haman. Haman remains concealed and looks at her working in her shop and praises her. Thus I oft have stood in frosty evenings, a light burning by her, enduring biting cold only to eye her. So here means that here it seems that there is some genuine zeal in Haman, because he had the habit of standing there unknown to Jane, standing even when it is snowing in cold, enduring the cold, suffering the cold, only to look at her. One only look has seemed as rich to me as a king's crown. Such is love's lunacy. So we may say that it is a poetic exaggeration. Haman says that one look at Jane is worth a king's crown. So love's lunacy, I already told you that in the Platonic tradition it was believed that lover is a kind of lunatic or mad person. So the word lunacy or lunatic comes from luna in Latin, which means the moon. So when one is lunatic, then one loses a sense of proportion, and therefore one look at a beautiful woman appears to the lover as equivalent to the king's crown. Muffled I will pass along, and by that try whether she know me. So he has concealed his face with a muffler. So he says that I will pass along, I will go to her in this muffled state. I will conceal my face to see whether she recognizes me. And as Jane sees him, she asks her, what is it you buy? So she thinks that it is a new customer. What is it you lack, sir? Calico or lawn, fine cambric shirts or bands? What will you buy? In an aside, Haman says, that which thou wilt not sell. Faith, yet I will try. By which he means that your chastity, your virginity, which you will not sell, because you are a virtuous woman, but I will yet try to get that. How do you sell this handkerchief? So pretending to be a customer, he asks, good, cheap. And how these ruffs? Cheap too. Ruff is the kind of collar, Elizabethan collars. And how this band? Cheap too. All cheap. How sell you then this hand? So he holds her hand and says that if everything is cheap, then what is the price of this hand? My hands are not to be sold. To be given then. So if it is not for sale, then it must be given away. My hand, nay faith, I come to buy. So Haman persists that I must get your hand, but none knows when. So Jane expresses some kind of uncertainty about her status. She is not sure whether her husband is alive or not. And unless she can be sure of that, she can neither enter into any courtship with any gentleman, nor can she decide to marry anybody. Therefore she says that none knows when. Good sweet live, work a little while, let's play. So let's amuse ourselves and stop your work. I cannot live by keeping holiday. So once again you see here the work ethic of the middle class is asserted. Jane won't stop her work for amusing herself, because work is very important. It is her living. I will pay you for the time which shall be lost. With me you shall not be at so much cost. Haman says that I will pay you the price of your labor, the money that you may lost by not working. I will compensate for that. And Jane says that you will not bear that cost. Look how you wound this cloth, so you wound me. Because she is sewing a cloth with a needle. So Haman says that as you are wounding the cloth, you wound me. So he is flirting with her, he is courting her. It may be so, it is so. What remedy? Nay, faith, you are too coy. So you are very shy. Jane, let go my hand. So for Elizabethan gentlemen, coyness in women was the most abhorrent thing. So a coy woman would be courted, pestered, and even a persevering lover won't be able to mold a coy woman to agree to his proposal. So you remember Marvel's poem To a Coy Mistress, where Marvel chastises his lover, the lady, that in this way you will never be able to get married. Let go my hand. I will do any task at your command. I would let go this beauty were I not enjoined to disobey you by a power that controls kings. I love you. So Haman says that I am under the influence of a power which even controls kings, that is, which is even more powerful than kings. What is that power? The power of love. So because I love you, so I cannot let you go. So if he says that were I not enjoined to disobey you by a power, so love tells me to disobey you. I would have done everything that you say, that you tell me, but love tells me to disobey you, so I am under its influence. So now part. With hands I may, but never with my heart. So I may leave your hand, but I cannot leave with my heart. My heart will remain with you. In faith, I love you. I believe you do. Shall a true love in me breed hate in you? So Haman says that if you believe that I am a true lover, as you are saying, then would you be able to hate me, who is a true lover? Is that possible? I hate you not, then you must love. So Haman presents the situation in black and white, either hate or love. So Jane is kind of helpless here. So Haman says, if you do not hate me, that means you love me. Then you must love. Then Jane says, I do. What? Are you better now? I love not you. So here Jane uses a kind of equivocation. She says, I do, that is I love, but somebody else, not you. So you are asking me whether I love? I say, yes, I love, but not you. All this, I hope, is but a woman's fray. That means come to me when she cries away. So with Jane really behaving like a persevering lover, and had not Ralph returned, Jane would have agreed to marry him, because Haman appears to be a true lover, a persevering lover. And he says that whatever you are saying, that is the way a woman says things. That is when she means the opposite. So if a woman says away, go away, it means come to me. In earnest, mistress, I do not jest. A true chaste love hath entered in my breast. So I am admitting, I am confessing that I truly love you. I love you dearly as I love my life. I love you as a husband loves a wife. That and no other love my love requires. Thy wealth I know is little. My desires thirst not for gold. So my love for you is genuine because I am not after your wealth, because your wealth is little. My desire is not for gold. Sweet beauteous Jane, what is mine shall, if thou make myself thine, all be thine. On the other hand, I propose that all my wealth will be yours if you become mine. So if you be my wife, then you will get all my wealth. Say, judge, what is thy sentence, life or death? Mercy or cruelty lies in thy breath. So Jane is in the position of a judge and would pass a sentence according to Hammond. So if she agrees, then it is life, he will be saved, and if she does not agree, then it will be death sentence for Hammond. So mercy or cruelty, whether a judge should be merciful or cruel, that was a moot point of Elizabethan judicial system, and Shakespeare also deals with this question again. So we were looking at the courtship between Hammond and Jane. So when Hammond is pursuing Jane, and she is forced to say that I believe you love me, then Hammond asks her, can you hate somebody who is a true lover? Then Jane says, I hate you not. And then you must love, Hammond says, and Jane says, yes, I do. Are you better now? I love not you. So I love, but I do not love you. We have this equivocation that Jane uses here. And then Hammond says, all this is perhaps a woman's phrase. That is, women often say something which is opposite of what they mean. So if they say, go away, they mean come to me. True chaste love hath entered in my breast. I love you dearly as I love my life. I love you as a husband loves a wife. So he expresses his genuine love towards Jane. That and no other love my love requires, thy wealth. Okay, so we are talking about mercy or cruelty. Okay. Then Jane says, good sir, I do believe you love me well, for 'tis a silly conquest, silly pride. For one like you, I mean a gentleman, to boast that by his love tricks he hath brought such and such women to his amorous lure. So a gentleman like you, I think, would boast his ability to love by pursuing several women at a time, such and such women to his amorous lure. Lure means temptation. I think you do not so, yet many do. Perhaps you are not a gentleman like this, but many gentlemen are like that. And make it even a very trade to woo. I could be coy as many women be, feed you with sunshine smiles and wanton looks, but I detest witchcraft. So I am not a coy woman or a woman who flirts with others and feeds their lover with sunshine and smile. And I detest witchcraft, that is, women who try to bewitch others by their coquetry. I detest to be like that, I hate to be like that. Say that I do constantly believe you constant have. So I believe that you are constant. So she is also playing with word constant. Says, I constantly believe you. That is, I am constant in my belief in you, and I believe that you are a constant lover. So there is actually no disagreement between the two of them. The only question is whether Jane's husband is alive or not. That keeps them separate. So Hammond says, why dost thou not believe me? Jane says, I believe you, but yet, good sir, because I will not grieve you with hopes to taste fruit which will never fall, in simple truth, This is the sum of all. So she says, I do not say that I, do not believe in you, but I don't want you to believe in something which will create false hope in you, and then you will be disappointed later. So uh, the simple truth is that this is a fruit that will never mature. That is, this love can never be uh, ripen into marriage, or can never be fruitful as a marriage. My husband lives, at least I hope he lives. Pressed was he to these bitter wars in France. So my husband is still alive, and he was sent to France, to the war in France. Bitter they are to me by wanting him. So the wars, they are bitter to me because I lack him. I have but one heart, and that heart is his due. So since I have but one heart, only one heart, so I cannot split my heart. That heart is due to my husband. How can I then bestow the same on you? Whilst he lives, his I live, be it never so poor, and rather be his wife than a king's poor. So as long as my husband is alive, I will be his. So I will rather be his poor wife than a king's poor. That is, I will never be a prostitute or a whore to a rich man. Which means Jane asserts that she is chaste, and she won't abandon her husband as long as her husband is alive. So here through Jane we see that the middle class value of chastity, the virtue of chastity, that is loyalty to only one sexual partner, this middle class value is asserted here. Now while I say this, it means that this is not a universal value. Loyalty to one sexual partner is not considered very important either among the aristocratic people or among the lower class people. So this is a virtue which is upheld by the middle classes. Hammond therefore says, chaste and dear woman, I will not abuse thee, although it cost my life if thou refuse me. So Hammond does not have any evil design on Jane. So he says that I will not abuse you, that is, I will not force myself on you or do anything bad, even though not getting you will mean my life. Thy husband pressed for France. What was his name? Ralph Dampert. Dampert. Here is a letter sent from France to me from a dear friend of mine, a gentleman of place. Here he doth write their names that have been slain in every fight. So this list Hammond has got from an influential friend, where the names of the dead people, those who died in the war, is there. Now, whether this is a trick in love played by Hammond, or whether the list was actually faulty and Hammond is not to be blamed, that is not made clear by the dramatist. Jane, I hope death scroll contains not my love's name. That is, I hope my husband is not among the dead. Cannot you read? I can. Peruse the same. To my remembrance, such a name I read amongst the rest. See here. And then Jane sees the name of her husband. Ay me, he is dead. He is dead. If this be true, my dear heart is slain. So she is immensely unhappy, sad, disappointed, melancholic, and says that my lover, my husband is dead, is slain. Hammond, have patience, dear love. Now Hammond tries to console her. Hence, hence, that is, she wants him to go away, because she must mourn for her dead husband. So she does not want any, courtship at that moment. Nay, sweet Jane, make not poor sorrow proud with these rich tears. I mourn thy husband's death because thou mournest. So Hammond says, I am also sorry for your loss, and you are making only death proud by shedding tears, but do not be so melancholy. That bill is forged, it is signed by forgery. Now Jane disbelieves that list and says that it must be a forgery. I will bring the letter sent besides to many, carrying the like report. Jane, is too true, come weep not. Mourning, though it rise from love, helps not the mourned, yet hurts them that mourn. So he says that I can get you similar reports from many friends who have got the same report. And therefore, this list cannot be a forgery. So sometimes it so happens in war that soldiers get missing, and then they are assumed to be dead in action. So one does not know whether it was that kind of a mistake or not. But apparently Ralph's name was there on the list. So Hammond tells her that you do not mourn, because mourning does not help anybody. Besides, it hurts them, those who mourn. For God's sake, leave me. Whither dost thou turn? Forget the dead, love them that are alive. His love is faded, try how mine will thrive. So Hammond has no time for this mourning, to allow Jane a time for mourning, but it is also the necessity of a dramatic economy, that you cannot give a character too much of time, so the action must progress. Therefore Hammond says that you love the person who is alive and stop loving the dead. It is now no time for me to think on love. It is now best time for you to think on love, because your love lives not. So since your husband is dead, therefore you have to think about a new partner. Though he be dead, my love to him shall not be buried. For God's sake, leave me to myself alone. So she tells forcefully that you please go away. It would kill my soul to leave thee drowned in a moan. Answer me to my suit and I am gone. So he says that I will hate it that you are drowned in sorrow. If you answer to my suit, if you tell me yes, then I will happily leave. So it is a kind of forcing Jane to immediately consent, which is improbable. So Jane says no. Then farewell, one farewell will not serve, I come again. Come, dry these wet cheeks, tell me faith, sweet Jane, yeah or no, once more. So the purpose of this scene is to point out how Jane was forced to consent to Hammond, and particularly because of the circumstances that the name of Ralph appeared on the list of dead people. So the situation was so that Jane had no alternative, and Hammond forces her so much that finally she says that if this report is true, then I will marry you, because Hammond won't live without some kind of consent from her. So Hammond says, nay, then I will grow rude by this white hand until you change that cold no, here I will stand, till by your hard heart. So I will not leave if you do not change your cold heart and keep saying no. Nay, for God's love, peace, my sorrows by your presence more increase. Not that you thus are present, but all grief desires to be alone. So one must allow some time for grieving, for mourning. Therefore, in brief, thus much I say, and saying bid adieu. If ever I wed man, it shall be you. So that is what Jane tells Hammond, that if I ever marry again, I promise, then I will marry you. So it is a kind of a conditional consent. So we cannot blame Jane for saying yes. "Oh, blessed voice, dear Jane, I will urge no more. Thy breath hath made me rich." And Jane says, "Death makes me poor." So in this scene we see that Hammond very forcefully quotes Jane, and Jane is also persuaded by the false report that her husband is dead, and as long as possible she upheld the middle class virtue of chastity by refusing to give consent to another gentleman to marry her as long as her husband is alive. And therefore with this scene ending, it comes to some kind of a semi-closure or half-closure, that the suit of Hammond, or the subplot of the courtship between Hammond and Jane, comes to some kind of an end, until there is again a turn in plot. Till then, it seems that Jane would be agreeing to marry